Nippon Sangoku feels completely different from most dystopian anime coming out right now, and a huge part of that comes down to how restrained it is. A lot of modern anime constantly try to outdo themselves. Bigger fights, more destruction, spending more on animation quality, all add an attempt to create spectacle. Even when they're good, they can sometimes feel a bit too sanitized or engineered to keep our attention on the screen constantly. But Nippon Sangoku feels a lot more interested in its plot, atmosphere, and the political conflict instead of constantly trying to hook the audience every 5 minutes. And a good story really speaks for itself, without the need for a fancy hook or attention-grabbing editing. The story takes place in a near future Japan that has completely collapsed after economic disaster, pandemics, natural catastrophes, refugee crises, and corruption that's tearing the country apart. Eventually, Japan splits into 3 separate nations, and society regresses into something visually resembling the Meiji and Taisho eras. All this already makes the anime feel different. Most futuristic anime tend to lean heavily into tech, cyberpunk, neon lighting, futuristic cities, holograms, and all that jazz. But Nippon Sangoku walks in the opposite direction. The world feels dusty, faded, worn down, and historical, like the future and the past had a divorce and nobody won. Remnants of today, tomorrow, and yesterday which litter the world of this anime. Studio Kafka leans heavily into that look through the anime's art direction. The colors are very muted and washed out, almost like an old photograph or paintings that have aged over time. It might come across a tad too esoteric for the anime layman, but I recommend sticking it out for at least the first 2 episodes, and once you're used to it, I do believe there will be no going back. The character designs also carry that older Japanese aesthetic, especially with the rounded facial features and the soft expressions that resemble artwork from the early 20th century. It's a strong visual motif showing how the world feels both futuristic and historical at the same time. The setting constantly feels like a society trying to rebuild itself by copying fragments of the past or remembering distorted versions of what life was like then. And that atmosphere is encapsulated through the main character, Aoteru Mitsumi. Usually in stories like this, tragedy is often a precursor to a long, revenge-filled journey that's pretty violent to boot. But Nippon Sangoku sets that exact expectation up during one of the most disturbing scenes in the first episode. After corrupt officials murder Aoteru's wife, Saki, he wakes up to find her severed head placed in front of him while the men responsible mock him openly. Every part of the scene feels like it's building toward this violent reaction. Will Aoteru kill the officials with some hidden skills he's been hiding? In any other anime, definitely. But here, Aoteru bows his head. This moment completely changes what kind of story the anime is trying to tell. Instead of revenge, Aoteru chooses survival. This type of choice often makes the protagonists of an anime feel weak or cowardly, considering the build-up and how the anime makes us feel for Aoteru's wife Saki. Instead, Aoteru chooses to understand the system around him and eventually work his way through it, climbing the ladder, gaining influence, all that before he exacts his revenge, remembering his fiance's last words to him. That's what makes the series feel so different from something like Attack on Titan. The way they approach those themes feel completely different. Eren Yeager pushes forward through anger and revenge. Aoteru relies on his intelligence and strategy. Like, instead of running headlong into danger before discovering his strength, he chooses to learn how to wield it in the object of his vengeance, in the belly of the beast. This anime also supports this approach very well through its visuals. Violence is never overly celebrated. It's not something that bumps up the pace or makes an episode more exciting. The scene where Aoteru follows the blood trail through the snow towards Saki's body. Most of the anime uses subdued colors and softer tones, so when bright red blood suddenly cuts through the frame, it becomes genuinely disturbing. Nippon Sangoku understands that if every scene is vibrant, then nothing actually stands out. But by holding back visually throughout the anime, these moments of violence feel incredibly vivid. The pacing also plays a huge role in why the world feels believable. The anime spends time showing how unstable these de facto governments are and how everyday people get crushed under those systems. It makes the world feel less like a fantasy and more like a society collapsing before our eyes. The way the anime uses scale is also really effective. It keeps its attention grounded in the characters themselves. Even when armies move or battles begin, the focus stays on how these situations feel for the people inside them. Think of it like a single character film or a single location film which is presented on a large canvas. A vast story told through singular characters. Many anime today seem afraid to slow down and let scenes sit with an audience. There's usually constant pressure to escalate events, but Nippon Sangoku spends time on humiliation, fear, political tension, and the events that move this plot forward without overdoing it. What really makes this anime work in the end is how every part of it supports the same core idea. The visuals, the pacing, the politics, and Aotero himself all point towards the same thing. Real power doesn't always come from strength. Sometimes it comes from understanding systems, understanding people, and knowing not when to act, but when to understand and make a decision. And in a genre filled with chosen ones, incessantly screaming about destiny and what they want to be, and it's nice to find an anime that reflects a different approach that feels fresh. Thank you all for watching. Do check out our short films on the channel. We do put a lot of effort into them. Please like and subscribe. It does mean the world to us. And do stay tuned for more video essays. Thank you all for watching once again. Till the next one.